The Celtics are one win away from the NBA Finals after beating Miami Heat 90-83 in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals on Wednesday to lead the series 3-2. The Celtics were enabled by a Heat team that produced one of the worst conference finals shooting performances in their history. We have highlights.
With the Eastern Conference Finals tied at 2 games apiece, Jimmy Butler and the Heat host Jayson Tatum, Marcus Smart, and the Celtics. Jimmy Butler in the first, missing the shot here, getting his rebound, missing again, and that's why Bam Adebayo is there. The putback slam, he had 18 and 10 to cut their deficit to 1. Then in the second, Adebayo muscling his way inside and getting the layup to go, putting the Heat up 38-32. Later in the quarter, Tatum to Al Horford for the corner 3. But the Heat would lead the way 42-37 at the half. Into third quarter highlights, Max Strus with the miss, Al Horford with the coast to coast, then getting the layup to go plus the foul. He had 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in the game. He'd make that free throw and give the Celtics the 48-46 lead. Then the team would go on a run. That's Tatum with the jumper, then Tatum with the spin, and getting the tough layup to go inside. Then Jaylen Brown pulling up and knocking down the jumper. The Celtics would outscore the Heat 32-16 in the third. Then more of the same in the fourth. Horford to Tatum for the quarter 3. He had 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists, but Brown would close it out. Here's Tatum to Brown for the deep 3. Then the drive and the one-handed throwdown. He had 25 points in the game and grabbed 4 rebounds. That would put the Celtics up 89-71, but they'd pull away and win it 93-80.
Let's hear now from the Boston coach, Ime Udoka.
And no, we didn't play our best in the first half. We just talked about flipping the script and playing like a really good second half, a really clean second half. And so we did that. Guys, obviously JT, JB got it going. Both those guys almost triple-double and 25 points for JB. But it was simply, like I said, taking care of the basketball, the emphasis of this whole series, and limit them to one shot. And so we're guarding extremely well. It's impressive to hold a team to 80, not playing your best offensive game. But as I always say, we rely on the defensive end. Know our offense will pick up eventually, and when we get those stops to get out and run, we're kind of a lethal team on both ends.
So, can the Heat level the series in Game 6? Here's what Jimmy Butler thinks.
Besides the fact that anything is possible, we just know what we're capable of. We know we can play some really good basketball, and we know that we're going to play some really good basketball, and it's going to have to start in this next game up in Boston. But I just think that we know that we can win.
Our NBA expert Alister Albert joins us now on the Sportsmax Zone. Alister, poor offensive run Miami has been on. So where does Jimmy Butler get his confidence from?
Jimmy Butler is just an overly confident guy coming from the state of Texas, and he's just one of these guys who just always thinks big and things that they could back up what they say. And he has had a career where he has done that, being a very clutch player and very productive for the teams that he's played on. But I think it's a different circumstance, and he has to rely on his teammates who are not really pulling their weight very well. I think his confidence is just being really hopeful. And I think we just have to see how much that hope actually translates into actuality. Kyle Lowry needs to play better. Bam Adebayo tried his best the last game, but there's just too many holes offensively, and that's what's causing the issues for them.
Yeah, I was telling my colleagues yesterday when we were forecasting the game, they picked the Heat and I picked the Celtics, and I told them that if the Celtics won this game, then they'd go on to win the series. But there's something about what I saw last night that made me second guess myself in my forecast, because as you correctly said just now, The issue for the Heat is not an absence of quality. We've seen teams in playoff series where they're being hobbled by an absence of quality players. What we have, my friend Alister, is a set of players on the Heat roster who are underperforming. And if you have potentially good players and players who prove that they are solid players in a team, then they can hit their straps. And I have this lingering feeling that we could get a game seven in this series, even though I said if Celtics won last night, they'd go on to win.
Yeah, and it's remarkable because remember the last time we spoke, I said, there were only 3 quarters that were won throughout the whole 4 games. And these quarters that were won were done outstandingly by the Miami Heat. And it shows with production and then, the team hitting shots and the guys just doing what they need to do, assisting, moving the ball around and kind of getting to free spots and everything, that it is possible. And, the way that the series has gone from one team winning to the next team winning, back and forth, it is possible that it could win. But just based on the track record of what they've shown so far and how, they've played, what happened to them last night was really concerning because, they're starting to rely on the 3 ball too much. And one of their best 3-point shooters is not even in the game, Tyler Hero, of course, missing the last 2 games. So, it was a tale of quarters again. Once again, the first 2 quarters, they won, being able to outscore the Celtics by 5 points leading at the half. And then the third quarter was a different story. They started to lose all of the momentum and the flow. There was actually 7 assists to the Boston Celtics and no assists at all, no ball movement from the Miami Heat. So no assists recorded in the third quarter. And then they started shooting threes, 1 of 14 threes in the third quarter. So that just put them into a deep hole, trying to take too many home run shots to try to get back into the swing of things. And then the momentum just continued to spiral the other way for the Celtics, and they just kept on doing what they've been doing throughout this whole playoffs.
Yeah, and for some time, the Miami Heat, they looked extremely hot. What I want to say, though, Alister, is, all these things aside, do you get the sense that the Miami Heat's, inconsistency has something to do with the fact that injuries are affecting the team? And I say that based on Game 3 when Jimmy Butler had that bit of problem in his knee. He hasn't really come back looking any better. Kyle Lowry carrying that hamstring injury, and so many others carrying niggles. I mean, it's so many games that you can play, and we know the high intensity of these playoff games. Once you slip, that's it for you. Do you feel that that factor is weighing down on the Miami Heat?
Absolutely, I 100% believe that as well, and I think it's one of these things where you see what's happening with the team. They're trying to force a lot of shots, and like I mentioned just a while ago, Tyler Hero not being in the game it really kind of makes a lot of difficult things for them in terms of just how they position themselves on the court. He spreads the court quite a bit for them. Being that threat from the outside, and it allows them to kind of play that screen and rolls off the ball and kind of get movement within their sets. But now that Tyler Hero isn't even there because of those injuries, as you mentioned, you have guys going through the screen and roll action, and then you're kind of going against a team which has a lot of youth, length, and just athleticism to collapse on the zone. Once these guys get these high screen and rolls at the top, it's 1-2 dribbles trying to go into the zone, and then you have Al Horford's hand right up there on them, or Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So, and Marcus Smart, of course, when he's playing. So they're just missing a lot of the offensive firepower and outside shooting that Tyler Hero brings. Even if he's not even scoring, just being out there as a decoy to just open out the court for them is really unfortunate. And of course, Duncan Robinson, they've tried to kind of give him a little more minutes and playing time, and he's not producing as well. So I think they're just starting to rely a little bit on things that they're just not able to do right now, and then making it worse when they're trying to rely on their 2 best guys right now, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. They're just not producing as well. So it's really tough for them. It's a catch. It's a bit of a hard being in a rock against a rock and a hard place for them. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. I don't know how they come back from this.
Right. So now that you say you don't know how they're coming back, that means it's over for the Miami Heat, because we've seen it's been very topsy-turvy. And I feel as if, to go out and bet against any one of the 2 teams would probably be wrong.
No, I don't think it's over for them, because like I said, it's a tale of them playing disciplined basketball and a tale of quarters. If you see they could kind of just produce and be a little more offensively disciplined and efficient, they have the chance to actually put some really good quarters together and defensively turn it up defensively as well, and hope that the Celtics are kind of not hitting on all strides as they do, and they can probably take this game and force a game 7. But by the way it's been going, you just don't know. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have just been, really outstanding. Then you have Al Horford, who comes in every now and then. Marcus Smart didn't even play good this last game, just 5 points. So, there's just a lot of options for the Celtics to kind of put the Heat to bed, basically. So I don't see it working for them, but they do definitely have a chance to force a game 7 at least. But I don't see them winning the series anyway, so.
All right. Well, Alister, Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors will clash in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. That's later on Thursday. The Mavs trail 3-1. And the question is, can they become the first team to rally from 3-0 down to win a conference finals?
Man, I don't know. It's one of these things. Of course, I predicted the last time we spoke it would be a sweep, either a sweep or game or going to 5 games. Now we've seen what Luka can do, and we see what happens when Reggie Bullock pulls up his socks and actually becomes the 3-point shooter that we know he can be. Jalen Brunson has been really outstanding throughout the whole playoffs, and Spencer Dinwiddie. He's not hiding. He's shooting. He's making baskets and everything. Can they come back from a 3-0 deficit? I can't see them doing that against the Golden State Warriors. I think the Warriors are just too able to kind of turn it up when they need to. I kind of use the analogy with these Warriors as like a cat kind of playing with a mouse in the backyard, kind of playing with their food kind of thing. And what they kind of have to just make sure they could close it out. Stop giving teams opportunities to get momentum and confidence. But I don't see the Dallas Mavericks winning the next game. I have been wrong before, of course. The Mavericks have kind of done really well this playoffs season. I thought they would have been swept last night or night before, and they've kind of pulled it out. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see them winning Game 5. But they've proved me wrong before, so let's see what happens. It's an inexact science, as I like to say.
Yeah, at the risk of being insensitive, I want to be careful with what I'm saying now, because, sometimes life, the other things outside sport, collide with sport, and you have to relinquish professionalism, perhaps. And I say that because I thought, and I had a bad feeling about the Warriors in the last game because of Steve Kerr's reaction to the shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde in Texas, and the emotional. When I saw it, I said, oh my gosh, this is going to percolate through to the players. We're not going to get a prime Warriors performance on the night. I don't know if it actually percolated through to the players, but I was right to feel apprehensive about the Warriors performance because they really didn't turn up, and they were beaten by Luka with help from a couple of players. And I say that to say that it just goes to show how fickle professional athletes can be, because one thing outside the usual setup can influence the kind of performance that's less than optimum and cause them to not perform at their best. And only the Almighty can tell me that Steve Kerr's reaction and his own emotion and the team seeing him break down at the press conference and then going into the dressing room and perhaps having a few words about it didn't affect the team in Game 4 rather.
Yeah, it was something to see. I saw the press conference, and it was like, Steve Kerr being, the vocal coach that he has been throughout this whole time he's been a head coach, and being one who stands up against all the social injustices and, some of the massacres we've seen. And yeah, you're right. It seems like it kind of went through to the team. Steph Curry spoke about it as well, and he said, Steve Kerr's words were very impactful and very powerful. So I think it resonated with them as well. And maybe they just kind of had one of these moments where it's like basketball is just not on right now. We're just probably not thinking about it in that way. But Dallas backs were against the wall, and maybe they were playing for their state, Texas, where this thing happened, and they just kind of wanted to give the city and the state something to cheer about, and they came out really emotional, and they won that game. So maybe that kind of continues through, but we're hoping for a good continuation of the series, and it's really unfortunate what's happening in America.
And I'm sure you'd associate yourself with my comments that we're not saying that Steve Kerr shouldn't have done what he did. It was
No.
It was very appropriate that he expressed himself that way. But that's why I spoke about sport and professionalism colliding and with life. And sometimes sport has to take a backseat because the realities of life have to take primacy. And as a parent, as a man himself, he was well within his right to react the way he did at that press conference. Just before we go, Alister, in the 4 games between the Mavericks and the Warriors so far, this is going to be an interesting one for you, I'm sure. In these 4 games so far, who has been the best individual player across the teams?
I still say Luka Doncic. You know, he's putting up some numbers, 30, you know, averaging 34 points this series, and you know, it single-handedly he's kept his team, you know, in this series. They just won 1 game, but you know they just have nothing to stop him. I look at Luka pull up his take his step back jumpers, and they're telegraphed. You know they're coming. You cannot stop him. You know, he puts up the arc on that ball, and, you know, he's able to just go ahead. The next person for me, I think Andrew Wiggins has been, you know, remarkable. He's tried his best to stop Luka. It hasn't really worked. But, you know, if it wasn't for him, and I think a lot of the key stops that he's made on Luka and kind of prevented him from even putting up even more points, you know, I think it would kind of hurt the Warriors even more. So, of course, Steph Curry does what he does. Klay Thompson, you know, he's kind of up and down. But I think the player across the series who has earned my respect definitely is Luka Doncic. And he's done that for the last couple of years, but even more so this year.
Yeah, and we're out of time. We put up a graphic 2 days ago, it was team, with the All-NBA first team. And there were 3 Europeans in the All-NBA first team. I can't remember in my lifetime watching the NBA that ever happening before.
Yeah, the borders are closing in. You know, the world is getting much better.
A European, well, Dirk would be in, and you know that would be it. But
that was it. Yeah,
this I can't recall another season where 3 Europeans made All-NBA first team. And as you said, Alister, the NBA, they started going overseas before all of the other big leagues even contemplated that. This proves that this league is truly global in every respect.
That's right.
Yep,
that's
there
right.
you go. Thank you, my friend. All the best to you. We'll talk again.
No problem. See you guys later.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so you both lost on Wednesday. Your Heat beaten by the Celtics. So I told Alister, I can't gloat because something else tells me that this series isn't doing that. Now we're going to Game 7. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're going to a Game 7, but you know, the point that I'm brought up with Alister is a serious point, the injuries that the Miami Heat is carrying. So for me, is if they can put a Band-Aid over those injuries, and it's not so easy because of the nature of the injuries, like hamstring and whatnot. But if they can put a Band-Aid over that, you know, just stick out the pain, sometimes how I do when I'm not feeling well on the show, and they just, you know, get through, then they can beat up the Celtics.
Yeah, I think of the 2 series, the Warriors look more sure to come out winners in the series than any of the other 2. I think the Celtics have the advantage for sure, given how dominant they have been in the games.
So you see 4-2? I don't see a Game 6. I don't know why.
Very possible.
Yeah, too. The Miami Heat is not going to sit down and allow Celtics. Yeah.
Close series.
Close series. All right. The Western Conference Finals Game 5. Can the Warriors close it out? We have that game for you. They don't do matches in U.S. professional sport. They do games. So that Game 5, Mavericks Warriors live, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. if you're outside Jamaica. And yeah, SportsMax is the destination. You can also watch it on the SportsMax app, which you can download on the Google Play Store or the App Store.